Okay, the council is convened for a couple of work sessions. We'll start out with a presentation from the FBI regarding Camp Bonneville. So please, as you speak, just introduce yourself and we're all ears.
Can you hear me okay? Good morning, Chair Marshall, and members of the board. My name is Doug Olson. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI's field office in Portland. I'm also joined by Assistant Special Agent in charge Bobby Birkin back here, who's from our Seattle office. Both offices use the facilities at Camp Bonneville. And then we have several members of our staff here, including my ASAC, Mary Panovich, and I would point out that almost all of them live in the county here. So, but I'd like to read you some written statements and then open up for questions if that sounds okay.
That sounds great.
First, I want to talk about the FBI's impact in Clark County. The FBI's presence in Camp Bonneville is not just about training federal agents. It's about strengthening public safety, supporting the local economy, and maintaining partnerships that benefit Clark County, the community, and law enforcement. The Portland field office, located just across the Columbia River, employs approximately 80 individuals who live in Clark County. Combined with the Vancouver FBI office out of Seattle, nearly 90 FBI employees call Clark County home, contributing more than $9 million in salaries to the local economy every year. On training days at Camp Bonneville, agents also frequent nearby restaurants, shops, providing an immediate boost to the local businesses. Through their work, the FBI delivers a direct and measurable impact in Clark County. The FBI responds whenever Clark County law enforcement requests assistance and are prepared to confront high-risk crises such as active shooters at a moment's notice. Over the last 3 years alone, FBI Portland has received complaints from or involving approximately 1,500 Clark County residents and initiated 217 investigations. These efforts have resulted in 179 arrests, the seizure of 400 pounds of dangerous drugs, 195 firearms, and the recovery of 33 children. During the same period, the FBI Portland SWAT team has arrested 11 of the region's most violent offenders in Clark County, directly enhancing the safety and security of the community. An FBI multi-agency task force in Clark County identified and investigated a significant transnational criminal organization, or TCO, operating in Southwest Washington beginning in 2023. The TCO was determined to be distributing large quantities of fentanyl and methamphetamine within the Vancouver, Washington area. In 2024, the task force executed a buy-bust and search warrant operation on 2 leaders of the TCO, a Vancouver, Washington resident and his co-conspirator. The 2 men were arrested with over 7 pounds of fentanyl pills, 43 pounds of methamphetamine, and an assault rifle equipped with a grenade launcher. The 2 men were sentenced to 10 and 7 years respectively in federal custody. Between August 22nd, 2025 and August 24th, 2025, FBI personnel assisted in a multi-agency operation in Battleground, identifying and arresting individuals involved in the sexual abuse and exploitation of children. The operation yielded a total of 12 arrests, some of which are under consideration for federal charges to include online enticement of a minor, possession of CSAM, and distribution of CSAM. Now I want to talk about the FBI's presence at Camp Bonneville. The FBI utilizes Camp Bonneville approximately 60 times each year. Of these training days, 20 are dedicated to firearms instruction, covering agent qualifications, instructor development, and special events, while 40 are reserved for SWAT training. Notably, about 1/4 of all sessions, or 15 days annually, involve no firearms at all, and focused exclusively on tactical exercises. Even on days that include firearms training, the active use of the range is limited to just 3 to 4 hours, typically from 8:30 a.m. to noon. The remainder of the day is devoted to tactical teamwork and operational readiness. The FBI operates under strict self-imposed limitations at Camp Bonneville. Out of respect for the community, training is never conducted on weekends, evenings, or holidays, and participation is limited exclusively to FBI personnel. Every exercise is overseen by trained firearms instructors and range managers, ensuring not only safety, but also responsible use of the facilities. The Bureau uses only small caliber arms, 9mm, 223, and 308, and does not use explosives, tracers, or incendiary devices. To further reduce its footprint, the FBI employs suppressors to minimize noise and relies on reduced lead ammunition, protecting both agents and the environment. Now I'd like to talk about the importance of Camp Bonneville. The American people rightly expect the law enforcement officers to be professional, competent, and composed even in the most stressful situations. The quality of service that officers provide is directly tied to the amount and caliber of training they receive, and access to proper training venues is essential to achieving that standard. Firearms facilities enable agents and officers to develop true proficiency with their weapons, ensuring they are deployed safely and effectively without endangering bystanders. Likewise, tactical training provides opportunities to rehearse realistic scenarios and refine decision-making, communication, and public interaction before facing these situations in real life. Together, these training opportunities build the competence and confidence necessary to protect the community while upholding the highest standards of professionalism. Camp Bonneville has long served as an ideal location for this type of comprehensive law enforcement training. Uniquely, it accommodates both firearms and tactical training, a very rare, if not altogether non-existent, combination in the Vancouver-Portland metro area. The FBI has invested money and time over decades to ensure that it meets the high training standards needed to ensure agents are prepared for the wide range of scenarios that they must be ready to face. In fact, it would take the FBI several more years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to identify and build a training facility like what already exists at Camp Bonneville. While the FBI has explored numerous alternative sites, each has proven insufficient. Common shortcomings include inadequate facilities such as ranges that are too short, too few lanes, or restricted rules that prevent compliance with federal training standards. Other sites suffer from long travel distances or limited availability. Just as importantly, none of the public ranges in the region provide dedicated tactical training venues, a critical requirement for preparing agents to meet real-world operational demands. Now I want to talk about the FBI's financial commitment at Camp Bonneville. The FBI has consistently demonstrated good faith in its financial commitments at Camp Bonneville, operating the facilities at zero cost to Clark County while investing heavily in improvements. Over the years, the FBI has funded significant infrastructure upgrades, including construction of berms, firing lanes, structures, and tactical venues that have reduced firearms use by nearly 50%. It has also installed a secure front gate to deter trespassing, replaced outdated doors, and added reinforced security screens to strengthen the facility's overall safety. In addition to these capital improvements, the FBI covers all recurring operational expenses, which equates to thousands of dollars per year. This includes the $350 monthly garbage bill, installation and payment for internet services, and the provision of essential supplies such as toiletries, targets, and maintenance equipment. Routine upkeep, maintenance, repairs, and cleaning is performed by FBI and CCSO personnel, ensuring that the county bears no financial or labor burden for the facility's operation. Over the past 3 years, the FBI has deliberately paused several planned improvements at Camp Bonneville at the request of the county. These deferred upgrades include berm cleaning, improved building ventilation, water filtration systems, and environmentally friendly bathroom enhancements. The Bureau remains committed to these projects, and upon execution of a new contract, will seek to move forward with them immediately. While some concerns have been raised about the FBI not paying range usage fees during this period, it is important to emphasize that the Bureau was still operating under the terms of the previous agreement. In light of this fact, combined with the FBI's willingness to fund significant facility improvements, its continued funding and maintenance and facilities, and its acceptance of one of the highest usage rates paid at any training facility nationwide demonstrate the FBI has never sought to avoid paying fees and in fact continued to contribute and was actively trying to coordinate with the county to contribute more. Lastly, I want to touch on security. The FBI has long been committed to strengthening the security at Camp Bonneville. The visible presence of the FBI and Clark County Sheriff's Office at Camp Bonneville serve as a powerful deterrent to unauthorized users while also guaranteeing a swift law enforcement response whenever they are present. In direct response to county concerns about trespassing and theft across the property, not just within the range, the Bureau invested tens of thousands of dollars in security upgrades, including access gates and reinforced security doors. The positive impact of these improvements was immediate, significant, reducing unauthorized activity on the site. Looking ahead and contingent upon approval of a contract, the FBI is prepared to further enhance security through a combination of physical deterrent measures, barriers, and advanced technology solutions. These steps will not only safeguard FBI property, but will also create a safer, more secure environment for all users at Camp Bonneville. In conclusion, I'd just like to say that improving a contract for the FBI is not about just helping the FBI. It's about demonstrating to the public that the county values public safety and a highly capable law enforcement. The Camp Bonneville reuse plan specifically states that law enforcement training facilities are permitted. While the camp is closed to the public, there's no harm or cost to the county by continuing to allow the FBI to train at Camp Bonneville. In fact, as laid out in this presentation, there's a great benefit. Approving a new contract ensures that these benefits continue while also affirming the county's dedication to public safety, professionalism, and responsible stewardship of Camp Bonneville. The alternative, turning away a proven partner that has operated in good faith for over a decade, would not only undermine law enforcement readiness, but also forfeit the economic, environmental, and security advantages the FBI provides. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do the others want to have any comments, or have you covered it all?
I think I've covered it, but
You covered it very well.
But we're all here available to answer any questions that you or any members of the board may have, ma'am.
Great. I would just request if you could provide that your testimony electronically. I'd appreciate that, because there are a couple of members that are absent today, and that you had a lot of numbers and facts in there, so that was great. So, and I appreciate you being here. I'll open it up first if any counselors have questions, and I don't know if Counselor Young he's still on. Okay, but let me turn it over to Counselor Little first.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You had mentioned other facilities. I wondered if you could go into a little bit more detail about some examples of facilities around here, how close they are, what are their limitations. I was just at the English Pit this week sighting in my rifles, so I understand that facility. I don't know how long it will be available to anyone, but just if you could give some examples, because I don't think the public knows exactly like what facilities are for what types of training.
Yeah, for that, I might defer to my firearms folks, which are also present.
Hi, I'm Chris Callahan. Thanks for having us here today. I mean, the history behind this is that Camp Withicum closed decades ago, and that was the primary place where law enforcement was training, and sent a lot of us all scattering to find new ranges. So in that search, we didn't find anything back then, and nothing new has really been created. And that's why we initially partnered with the Army at Camp Bonneville, because it was the best venue. Sorry. Like I said, nothing's really changed. There's nothing new for us to train at. The issue that we're running into is availability. With all those law enforcement going to different places, we're all trying to find the same venues and places. We've looked, my partner Jason has spent a lot of time doing that and searching things, but there isn't, like, we've looked as far up as, well, we've looked down south at Sheridan and ranges down there, or the Eugene range, and it's a really long commute for us. It's a little too far for us to ask on a four times a month for our SWAT team to travel, an hour or more and back. It's not a good use of our agents' time. Hopefully that answers the question. Like, there's not, there's Tri-County, there's some other ranges around, but the English Pit, as far as I know, is being closed soon, or CCSO left there to come to Camp Bonneville for a reason. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I know that the English Pit has development growing all around it, so there's conflict there. You mention something about cost? Did you say that the current or the former agreement was the highest cost that you had for a facility, or what was that?
I think the agreed upon per use cost is the highest that we have. If not the highest, it's equivalent with the highest in the Bureau. And that includes like New York, any of the ranges in California, anywhere nationwide, our per use fee that we would pay under a contract. I think a little bit of the confusion is over the last, I think, 3 years, we haven't been under a new contract. So that leads people to believe that we haven't been paying. We've been maintaining the maintenance fees and everything like that, but that per use fee needs to be under an MOU for it to kick in.
Okay. And do you have any need for storage of anything at Camp Bonneville?
I think the key thing going forward would be temporary storage. And by that, I mean, like when you have like 3 shoots scheduled for like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually because of the weight, it's more convenient to bring it out for that period of time. I think the thought process going forward, and it really has generally been like no long-term storage of like ammunition out at that facility. But in that regard, we have put internet out there so that there's monitoring now available. There's a safe within a secured room to further secure any temporary storage that goes on out there, but we don't have anything stored out there right now.
Okay. And if we prohibited any storage of any kind of ammunition or anything, would you still be able to operate?
We would. It just causes an additional logistical hurdle, but it's one of those things we would figure it out. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Young, did you have any questions at this time?
I don't really have any questions at the moment. I think Councillor Little asked some good ones. I just did have a couple comments though, and this is, both aimed at the FBI as well as for the public. I asked for this work session because I wanted it to be public. The conversation that we had, in our one-on-ones with you folks. And I will say there is no material difference between what you said here and what we had or what we discussed during those meetings. So the public can rest assured there were no promises made. None of the insinuations that were suggested have taken place. The purpose of this was to bring this to the public light. I think this is a unique situation in that a decision like this does not usually go all the way to the top to the county council. This is usually a lower level decision, but it is such a difficult and contentious issue. That's why it is here. And so because of that, we're like trying to scramble to get some of the bits of information that staff probably just inherently know and don't think about because they are very familiar with this. So, some of the details that you have provided, I think, are helpful in helping us understand the nature of what's been happening out there and your contributions that may not have been evident originally. I recognize the importance of the facility to your training, and I'm trying to see if there's a way that we can find a way to make this work that protects the public from anything that could potentially happen out there. I do share the concerns with the storage of ammunition. I don't think that that is an option. I think I understand it creates logistical challenges, but I think that's just going to have to be something that does take place if we are to reconsider moving forward with the contract. Very interested in some of the, you know, the more financial details. I would love it if you would, beyond your written test or your written statement that that you'll be providing us, if you could provide a little higher or, you know, lower level detail on some of the contributions that you've made over time and that you continue to make and that you will continue to make if we were to move forward with a contract. And I do, however, I do want to voice my concern right now over the legal status. And I've heard multiple different you know, understandings of what the deed allows to take place out there. And I think for me, there's some uncertainty that I need to have clarified at this point. And, you know, I just wanted to also note that, you know, that the county is not able to ask for, and we can ask, but we're not able to get an outside attorney's perspective. That is at the purview of the prosecuting attorney's office, which I think in this situation probably would be helpful. So I guess that's my public ask of the prosecuting attorney's office. But thank you for coming this morning. I appreciate that. I don't know exactly where our conversation will lead after this, but I've not closed the door on this subject because I do feel that there is a large public benefit to having you train at Bonneville. To me, it's about making sure that we are following the law, following the rules of the deed transfer, and that we're keeping everyone safe, that we're not missing anything, and that we're correcting some of the mistakes that we have all made in the past. I think both sides have made some level of mistake, and I think it's mostly with communication. You know, the fact that we didn't have a contract for quite some time, I think is I would just say it was an error. So again, appreciate you coming this morning. And those are all my comments and questions at this point in time.
Thank you, Councilor Young. I just wanted to clarify one thing because I believe that this decision does come to the council for us to make. It's just that it had been delayed, but this is the appropriate forum to be making this decision. So just wanted to clarify that. And I do want to really thank you. I recognize the service that you provide for public safety in Clark County is significant. I think there's difficulties with Camp Bonneville in the maybe the short term and the longer term, just because of what the designated ultimate long-term use will be. And there will be, once the cleanup occurs, there'll be a broad public process for uses of Camp Bonneville. That may be a few years off. When we had this discussion with our sheriff, it was recognized there is a need to really find a long-term stable site. And he committed to putting together a task force to begin to look at that for all of law enforcement. So I agree with that, but that would take some time. Larch Mountain, I don't know if you're familiar with that site. It's got its challenges as well, but shooting range, training facility are some of the uses that have been identified ultimately for that site. But again, that will take a longer term effort to bring that up to speed. I think one of the concerns was related to the theft, and I don't know if you're making progress on identifying, who the culprit was, but that security was alarming, I think, to a number of people in the public. With the work sessions that we have, it's generally for us to hear more information, get some clarity, ask some questions. We don't generally decide on a direction. And so that may occur at one of our subsequent meetings. I don't know. Do you have any questions of us at this time? I'm not sure that I'm giving you anything solid to take away.
No, I appreciate you all taking the time to hear us here publicly. I think you articulated some of our same thoughts. Is like when there's these types of facilities are very, very rare, and it takes a significant amount of time to establish a new one or a replacement one. And I've had conversations with the sheriff's office about that very thing. And I think that's the thing. Like, even if we started today, it would take years to find somebody that does that. And back to Mr. Little, your question earlier that Chris answered so well. It's a combination of needed training days and competing interests for those few facilities that offer both tactical and firearms training. I think when you look at this on like a map, you're just like, what's the big deal? It's a range, right? Like there's a lot that goes into that range in terms of safety, the facilities there for training and the tactics. And it's like three-legged stool where not many facilities have that, or they have some sort of constraints that don't allow you to train law enforcement there. So when you run it through that filter, there's only like a small, like on one hand list of facilities, and every single law enforcement agency in the region is competing for days at those facilities, and that's the problem.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. This is important information to get out there. I just want to get a little bit more information about cleanup and security since you're here. So I think we had some kind of agreement to do cleanup at a certain time. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know exactly what that was, but if you could describe what you believe was the commitment and what the commitment could be going forward. I did tour the facility. It seems like a safe facility. I like the presentation here that, it's small caliber, it's with trained professionals. Seems to be very safe. The contamination is mostly at the berm, which is just trying to describe it for the public. Has a berm of gravel where the bullets go into, and you can clean that up by removing the lead. I just wanted to know a little bit more about that commitment to clean up that. And then also, I think you had mentioned some security measures that you could implement to make the facility safer. And just if you could go into as much detail as you can on that.
Sure. And I may tap into either my firearms guy, Jason, here, or Chris, our tactical lead. But we had been in talks with the county and OSHA in the past over the last 3 years. And OSHA has a program which we would be happy to reinitiate conversations with them again, where they would come out and scrape that berm. It wouldn't be a complete cleanup, but it would probably mitigate about 80% of the lead in the berm. And then they coat it with, my understanding is like a rubberized material that prevents further lead from entering into the berm and allows for easy cleanup. So it's like a partial mitigation, so that whenever we stop using it, it's a much easier cleanup than it would be right now after folks have been using that for 20 years. So that was the idea, to improve the berm, make it more resilient to lead, where it's easier to clean up, in conjunction with OSHA and the county out there. So that's kind of the commitment on the range. There's other things that we would like to do in terms of improving the road going in there, so there's less dust every time folks go in there. But all that stuff in terms of the lead, which I think is what gets most people's attention when you talk to the range, like that was the main item in terms of making it more resilient and reducing the final cleanup cost, which we've kind of also agreed upon after we stop using the range, right? So it would reduce the amount of work needed at the end of the day and the cost for that final cleanup by doing something sooner.
And something about security cameras and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the security, we already have a like almost immediately after the theft, we were able to put a internet node out there so that we have conductivity. We don't have conductivity out at the front gate. We have conductivity right there at the facility, which allows for more security measures in and around that. That said, you'd be looking at protecting targets and that type of stuff from theft at that point. If you were going to control the storage of ammo out there, that physical measure of not having ammo out there would be an additional measure. But we're also reinforcing the door out there, which was already a reinforced door, but we're making it much more reinforced, and then just further hardening on that facility out there. And then I think we did mention in the talking points, upgrading the toilets, like doing different things there, which would also kind of reduce the environmental impact of having so many people going out there and training at the facility on a regular basis. Am I missing anything in terms of upgrades?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about building a fence all the way around our perimeter, and then we've the cameras, so we can have live monitoring with alarms also, so we can get notification right away if there's a breach. The front gate, to me, demonstrates that, beyond just our facility, not whatever, but we're willing to do things to secure the property, to make our property safe too, right? And that the front gate was part of that. There was a huge, and this is from Greg Johnson, one of the former managers, was the break-ins or trespassing onto that property was significant, and lots of thefts until that front gate was built, and it reduced those quite a bit. And that was an example of something we're willing to partner with. So as we talk with Public Works, if there's other things needed, we would definitely want to get involved and see if we can help out with those things too. But the gate, the cameras, alarms are things that we would want to do just on the range specifically to make it more secure.
Okay, yeah, and I just wanted to get as much information out there as possible about this. So you had said it was small caliber, you're using suppressors, so it's quieter. You're only there in the morning. You're never there at night. You're never there on weekends. Access, I believe now with the gate is controlled so that it's by individual with a card. So you have to check in and out, and there's a record of that when you go in and out. Right.
You have to check in. You don't have to check out. It's not quite that sophisticated, but you do have to check in to get out. There's just a trigger to let your vehicle out.
Well, maybe we can get a checkout too, just so there's more. Lurch Mountain was mentioned. Can you mention any restrictions on that? I know that it's hard to get there in the winter. I'm not sure about the roads getting there. Can you describe a little bit about that facility?
We're unfamiliar with Larch Mountain. The first time we heard it was from you all. My understanding is that it is difficult to get to. It's close to Camp Bonneville as far as the crow flies, but getting there is, elevation. And my understanding is that it is years away from actually being like ready for use.
It's owned by DNR, so and the legislature would have to take some action and decide how they want to proceed with that. So yeah, it is years away, but it's a potential. Any other thoughts?
And are there trainings that are being disrupted right now? When would you normally be doing your next round of trainings or your regular trainings? I think you said 40 to something a year.
Hello, I'm the principal firearms instructor for our field office, and so as it relates to right now, I mean, obviously, as the current agreement is, is expiring, we're running up to that date. So right now we're doubling up on training. So we're, instead of having one day of training, we're actually cutting it in half and having 2 different sessions. They accommodate more people. That obviously means less training for those folks that are arriving. We're just, again, trying to maximize the use that we have remaining. But again, that's just up to the point that we're at right now with the current status of there not being an MOU in place.
Yeah, I'd just add each quarter we qualify 4 quarters a year. There's some sort of mandatory, either legal, tactical, or some sort of additional training that Jason and his team provides to our folks. The minimum is that they qualify on their firearms. So like right now, what we're doing is we're stacking those firearms qualifications so people get it, but they're missing a lot of that additional training that they would normally get. It's the beginning of the fiscal year for us, so it hasn't really like, it's something we're hoping to be able to make up down the road, but right now they're not getting the same amount of training as they normally would.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate what you do for our community. Going through that list of the things that you do for us is incredible. I think you said you recovered 38 children in addition to all the other things. We just want to make sure that you have a facility to train and be safe at. I understand that it's a difficult situation. I want to know what the legal boundaries are as well. But hopefully we can help you out and make sure that training is continued there. But we'll see what that decision isn't today. We're just trying to get as much information as possible so that we can make a good decision.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Can I ask one procedural question?
Absolutely.
So we'd like to get you back a copy of these notes and the answers to your questions as soon as possible. What would be a acceptable time frame to get that back to you? Would get like a day or two? Like would that be helpful? I don't know when you guys are looking at bringing this up again, but we want to make sure that you have it.
I would say, if by Monday, that would be good. Does that work for you?
It does.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.